Ladies and gentlemen, children of the interwebs out there, Sebastian Envy, Strong Style, Cinephile, and Moon Knight is here. Yeah, much anticipated Moon Knight. Let's geek about it for a scant few minutes. Watched the first episode a couple of times. Had some thoughts. I'm not going to go too like blow by blow for what happens in it because it's good and you should check it out. It's different. The thing I've harped about with these shows is they can give you, or maybe I haven't, maybe I've just harped about that with the CW shows, that they should ideally, each show should give you a different genre, a different feel, a totally different thing. Shouldn't all just be cookie cutter type of stuff. And I think with the Marvel shows, if I haven't said this before, I'm saying it now, they should do the same thing, that each of these Marvel shows, like WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, and I think they succeeded in doing that. They gave you like a different sort of vibe. They hit a different sort of feel, not so much a different genre, which I really think that they should do and aspire to do, but they at least gave you a different vibe, a different feeling across the different shows. Now this show, Moon Knight, gives you a definitely different vibe and feel from those other shows, which is good. It deals with a man who has associative personality disorder. He's not schizophrenic, he's not bipolar, he has associative personality disorder, I think is what it's called. But he does have a couple of other personalities inside him. One is mild-mannered Stephen Grant, who's just dude who works in a gift shop. He would do a bang-up job as a tour guide because he seems to be genuinely knowledgeable and interested in all this lore, all this history, but he's not. He works in the gift shop. He gets talked down to by his supervisor. He gets basically disrespected by everybody in the world. He's just a doormat. He's just one of those guys you feel for inside the first few minutes because he's a doormat. You wonder what's going on with him because he wakes up, he's tied to the bed. He checks his door every morning to see that the tape that he puts on there has not been disturbed, that he has not gotten up and left. And even talking to a statue later on, he talks about the fact that he feels like his body just wants to get up and move about on its own, which is why he's trying to stop it, which is you see him try to stay awake. He's doing puzzles and reading books and stuff, trying to stay awake to not have this happen, to where he falls asleep and he loses time, he loses days. As we find out, he wakes up in a totally different place. He's getting shot at, having to run from thugs that seem to be a part of this cult that's led by Ethan Hawke's character, which we'll get to in a second. And you see a couple of instances there where he just blacks out, or just the other personality in his body, which presumably is Mark Spector, who's a mercenary, ruthless, butt-kicking mercenary, takes over, handles the situation, and next thing you know, he's back in control, which this voice, which I'm assuming is Khonshu, the Egyptian god, who he derives his powers from, who he's an avatar for, is the one that's talking about that and saying things like the idiot's back in control and stuff like that. So he doesn't like Stephen Grant and doesn't like when Stephen Grant is in control of the host. Presuming there's going to be a sort of battle of wits, of wills between these three personalities, well, I guess two personalities and a godlike entity. But there's going to be a battle across the season to have control and maintain control. That you're not in a situation, which will probably happen, where Mark, or he's in full costume as Moon Knight, is backed in a corner facing some threat, and next thing you know, Stephen suddenly is in control, and then it's, I imagine that's going to happen at some point in time. But it's definitely a different take and a different spin on your traditional superhero stories, which, I mean, that's the character of Moon Knight, and that's why I like about this show and bringing us something different. Now, Ethan Hawke's character is the leader of a cult that worships the Egyptian god Ammit. Hawke's character, Arthur Harrow, appeared one time in a comic book years upon years ago. His character in the book was somebody who was a Nobel award-winning scientist who researched how to eliminate sensations of pain. Got involved with some Nazi business, et cetera, et cetera. But that was like it. So they just took this one character and this name, and they're spinning it into him having a cult following. He's doing the will of Ammit. He's worshiping Ammit. Ammit in Egyptian lore was the eater of the dead. When people died, their hearts were judged by Anubis. If their heart was judged to be pure or unpure or evil or whatever, it was given to Ammit. Ammit would then eat it. So the person kind of would die twice. So that was her purpose. She was betrayed by her avatar in the lore, and in this show, and she wasn't worshipped, she was feared, but in this show, Arthur and his cult worship her and have plans for her. Are they trying to resurrect her or what? We don't know yet. We know that Arthur is trying to create this world of good people, this heaven on earth type of thing. We see him have an instance where he judges somebody. He's got these scales on his arm that kind of act as this judgment indicator, and he judges a man. Man is deemed to have a good heart, so hey, you can join our cult and be happy. Judges this old woman, and she winds up on the losing end of the scale, and she's kind of like, I've been a good person, but apparently this thing can judge what you're going to do in the future. So that raises questions of all sorts, because how can you be judged on something you may or may not do in the future? I saw some write-ups where they were kind of referencing the Project Insight from Winter Soldier or Minority Report. My first thought went to Power Rangers Ninja Storm, which I've been watching ad nauseum in recent days, where there's an episode where the one of the Rangers, or two, like soon-to-be Ranger, went back in time and encountered the series villain before he became a villain. And he was like, hey, he's going to be bad. We should destroy him. And the sensei was like, how can you judge somebody on actions that they may or may not do in the future? Same thing with this. How can this old woman be this woman be judged for something she hasn't done yet that she may or may not do in the future? So that kind of opens the door to some a lot of questions and a lot of questioning of the motives of this of Arthur and the kind of world he's setting up and the kind of people he wants in his cult. How he's going to clash with Steven / Mark / Kanju remains to be seen. We see them encounter each other following one of his cult little gatherings, and then the guy follows Steven, tracks him down, and they talk at the museum, and the guy says he senses like chaos within Steven, and he actually lets him go, which leads to Steven getting chased by some sort of monstrous things. We don't know what they were. We just know that he was being chased by him. He gets cornered by him in a bathroom, and Mark appears and tells him to let him take control, let him save the two of them. Next you know, the Moon Knight suit just comes on, which I love. It's like bandages, so it kind of goes with the Egyptian mummifying thing. I love that aspect of the costume. And we see him just beating on this monstrous thing. I don't know, I have to go back and look at the trailer, but I felt that, like, maybe a lot of us thought in the trailer that he was beating on like a person. But it turns out, because I have to see whether or not because, you know, Marvel messes with us with the CG at times and kind of putting stuff in there that's not there, taking stuff out that is there. So I have to go back and look and see if that was a person that the Moon Knight was beating on, or if it was darkened up enough to where you couldn't clearly see what he was beating on, or if they just removed the thing entirely. But it was this whatever. We don't even know what it was. All we know is he was beating on him, and then he stands up, turns toward the camera, full costume, and that's where it cuts out for the first episode. So it kind of leaves this hanging, leaves us wanting more. There's no after the credit scene. So we're on the hook till next week and finding out what's going on, which I love this aspect of I mean, on the one hand, I kind of want all the episodes to binge right now. On the other hand, I like having one episode a week to kind of really kind of watch over and over again if we want to, and just kind of really let it sink in and digest and kind of think about all the implications of what we saw, and then kind of theorizing what we're going to see in the future. That's what I love about this model. It's on the one hand cool, on the other hand kind of frustrating that we don't get all the episodes, but it's okay. It's just how they do it. I'm fine with it. But Ethan Hawke was very interesting in the role, and anxious to see kind of how he plays a part in the future of the show. Oscar Isaac was great in the role as in the brief bit we saw him as Mark, in the bits we saw him as Stephen Grant. Plays that role well. Definitely a step up and a recovery from playing Apocalypse in a terrible X-Men movie. I'm glad he got another shot at a Marvel character and something that he's excelling in, something that the writers, the directors, the producers, everybody involved in the show have put together a good product. I mean, it's only one episode, so things could fall off. That's the thing about the Marvel shows. With WandaVision, with Falcon and Winter Soldier, with Hawkeye, they kind of fell off in the last few episodes. So will this be 4 for 4 for that happening? Remains to be seen. I'm all in for what I've seen thus far. It's very interesting. I can't wait to see Moon Knight doing more. I can't wait to find out more about Khonshu and Amit and their relationship and how they're going to clash in this, because I just find Egyptian lore and history, anything to do with gods and goddesses and deities and that sort of thing, I just find that very, very interesting. So I'm anxious to kind of see where things go from here. It was a good start, but will they stick the landing all the way through the series remains to be seen. But those are some of my thoughts on the show thus far. What do you guys out there think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me on social media. Talk to me there. Talk to me here. Till next time, let us geek.